We have to face a number of challenges in hematology. And one important challenge for me is equitable access. Equitable access to diagnostics, to treatments, to emerging therapies across all regions. Another challenge is to create inclusiveness, to take care of underrepresented countries and to integrate them into research and clinical networks. Another important challenge is to remove borders. That's why we have our purpose, borderless hematology, remove borders with regard geographical borders, disciplinary borders, hierarchical borders, many, many borders.
Welcome to EHA Unplugged, the official podcast channel of the European Hematology Association, EHA. I am your host, Isabel Olivera. Today, we have the privilege of speaking with Professor Konstanze Döhner. She's the current EHA president, and she's the head of the section of myeloid malignancies at the Department of Hematology at Ulm University Hospital in Germany. Professor Döhner is renowned for her clinical and scientific expertise in myeloproliferative neoplasms and acute myeloid leukemia, AML. In this episode, we'll explore her career in hematology, her involvement with EHA, and her vision for the future of the field. Thank you very much for being with us today, Professor Döhner.
Thank you very much, Isabel, for the kind invitation. I'm happy to give this interview.
Professor Döhner, to start, we would like to understand your journey in hematology. What attracted you to hematology?
So my journey started a while ago, and it started when I was at the late stage of medical school, in the last part of medical school, and I had to do a practical part in internal medicine. And internal medicine at this time, it was the hematology department at the University of Heidelberg. And I had no idea at this time what hematology means, because at medical school, hematology was only a very, very small part of our education. So I started my work there, and I was surprised by the heterogeneity of the different diseases I've never heard before, the opportunities we had at this time to treat patients. And I was fascinated by these blood diseases, I must say, because it was very practical. You need a microscope, you look at the blood smear or the bone marrow smear, and you learned a lot about the diseases. And I was also fascinated by the patients, because these patients are different. You stay with them for a very long time. You are with them during the whole treatment period, and you have a kind of relationship to them. And often they have to come back for the next treatment. Yeah, it was a very emotional experience for me. And I was attracted at this time by the heterogeneity of the different diseases and what we can do for the patients.
Your clinical work and your research have focused on acute myeloid leukemia and myeloproliferative neoplasms. Why did you focus on this specifically?
At this time, I started to focus on acute myeloid leukemia, a disease that is really an emergency in hematology, because people come to the clinic and they are really, really sick, and you have to react immediately. You have to make decisions immediately. And I was also fascinated because at this time in our department at the University Hospital in Heidelberg, there was a group of people. They were mainly interested in understanding the impact of genetic alterations in acute myeloid leukemia. And at this time, we had not really much knowledge about the impact of genetic alterations. We just knew that they play an important role for the disease, for disease biology, but also for outcome. And I had the chance to join a group quite early in the Department of Hematology and to start some very small research projects together with collaborators at other scientific institutes in Heidelberg. And I learned new techniques, and I learned to understand much better the biology of the disease. So that was the main reason why I decided to focus on acute myeloid leukemia. And much later, the myeloproliferative malignancies, the neoplasms, became also my field of interest, because these are really rare orphan diseases, and nobody took care of these patients because they are not acute. They have not an acute leukemia, they have chronic leukemic diseases. And acute myeloid leukemia and these myeloproliferative neoplasms, they have a lot of commonalities. also with regard to biology. So it was obvious for me to also include these MPNs in my focus of interest.
You have combined during the years clinical and scientific work. So you see patients,
Yeah.
you take care of patients, but you're also doing research. What do you find more satisfying?
So there is no priority, to be honest, because my scientific work translated into clinical work. So it's very translational research. And I think this is the most fascinating thing, that you do research on the one side, get some new insights on the biology, findings that are new, and you can translate your findings into the care of patients, into treatment of patients. And this was always something that fascinated me, not to do basic research and do not know what happens to your findings with regard to the patients. It was always very satisfying to translate your findings directly into patient care.
Are you involved in education at the university also?
Yes. So at university, we have to do clinical management of the patients. We have to do research and we have to do teaching. So we are also responsible for teaching students from medical school, but also PhD students in the lab, or biologists in your lab, or medical students that are doing their thesis. So you are responsible for teaching and education as well in the university hospital.
How did you come to EHA? How did you become involved in EHA?
So because I was working from the very beginning in hematology, it was at this time, it was the only association that was representing hematology in Europe. And it was very clear for us that we want to show our findings, that we want to represent our findings at European meetings. And the EHA was from the very beginning of the European meeting for hematology for our department, for me, and I had the opportunity to go to the Congress at a very early time point. I was allowed to go there to present my abstract, and I do remember very well, I went to the first Congress of EHA in Brussels, which is a long time ago, and it was a completely different meeting. So I think we had something about 500 participants there. And I must say, I still remember quite clearly seeing all these very famous people you just knew from the papers, and they were touchable. So you can talk to them. You had your poster presentation. It was a very nice atmosphere, and you felt to be part of the community and to start collaborating and networking and get to know the people who are interested in the same area. So I still remember quite well this first EHA Congress in Brussels.
What were your first contributions to EHA?
So, I mean, the first contact was this Congress in Brussels to get to know to the people who are working in hematology. We started collaborations because of the networking opportunity at this time. And for us, it was very important to submit our findings to this Congress. So we had the chance to present the findings, to give the first oral presentations that we have been very excited about. And then we grew up over the time. We were invited. I was an invited speaker at EHA. I joined some of the former HOPE meetings representing the results from EHA Congress. And over the time, the network was growing, and my engagement was growing over the time with this really great network and the collaboration. And I was invited by EHA, for example, to be part of the reviewing process for the Congress. And we have to work really hard and had several meetings to review all the abstracts for the Congress, select invited speakers. So this was a group of people growing together, getting to know each other much better. And at a certain time point, I was also interested to do more for EHA. And there was the idea to try to become a member of the board, of the EHA board. And this was in 2018. And you know the process, which is a very competitive process. But at this time, I won the ballot, and I was very, very happy to be in the inner circle of EHA to become a board member and to do much more than I did before and to get involved in many, many activities of EHA.
You have been involved a lot in education in EHA also. Was that before being a member of board?
So when I became a board member, I was from the beginning interested in outreach programs, but also in education. And at a certain time point, I had the chance to become the chair of the education committee, which I really liked very, very much for several reasons, because education is one major pillar, one major activity of EHA. And I love to create courses for diseases that very important for hematologists, to update the courses, to provide updated information in the field of hematology, but also to provide mentorship in our mentorship programs. And I also liked the concept and the strategy with regard to career development, which is also part of education. So many, many different aspects. And I really liked the many, many programs that we initiated and that we continued within the education committee. And one highlight was for sure the creation of the Lighting the Flame program. This is a career development program for really young, very young medical students or physicians that are just started in medicine. And it was satisfying to get the feedback and to see that education, or with these education programs, you can really move things forward and maybe contribute to standardized care of hematologic patients.
You have come a very long way in your involvement with EHA. Now you're the president. As president of the EHA, what do you see as the most significant challenges and opportunities in hematology today?
We have to face a number of challenges in hematology. And one important challenge for me is equitable access. Equitable access to diagnostics, to treatments, to emerging therapies across all regions. So this is one major challenge. Another challenge is to create inclusiveness, to take care of underrepresented countries and to integrate them into research and clinical networks. I think this is really very important. Another important challenge is to remove borders. That's why we have our purpose, borderless hematology, remove borders with regard geographical borders, disciplinary borders, hierarchical borders, many, many borders. I think this is another challenge we are working on. There are more challenges like supporting countries with fewer resources through our education programs and through training.
What is the most unexpected lesson that you have learned in this period?
It's not a very long time, to be honest, but I was very proud to see what we have achieved over the last years. I was very proud to see how EHA was and is still growing, all the many activities. But I was also surprised to see that there is a broad heterogeneity across Europe and beyond with regard to standard of care, with regard to medical needs, with regard to policy and regulatory issues. So I think there is a lot of things that we can still do and that we have to work on. And this is fascinating on the one side, but on the other side, as I said, I think EHA has developed over this long period. I'm with EHA significantly, and we can be very proud of that.
So what is your vision for EHA in the next few years for the development of EHA and hematology as a field?
I would like to see that the community is further growing, that we are speaking with one voice across Europe and beyond, that we fill the needs and the gaps of countries that are not having the same standard than other countries, support them, spread knowledge, nurture knowledge, and support career development across all the different career stages that we see in hematology. And there are many more aspects I think I would like to see over the next years. And these are aligned with our Agenda 2030, with our strategy very nicely. So I think this is something I would like to see a growing community as we working on that very hard, and to address these equitable access issues in Europe and beyond.
So there is a lot to do.
There's a lot to do, but I think with all the activities that we have initiated over the last 2 to 3 years, we are so much aligned with our mission and vision, with our agenda for the next 5 to 6, 7 years. And we have a plan, and it's always good to have a plan and to work on the plan. And we have a wonderful network. We have wonderful relationships with our national society partners. So I'm really looking forward to move on this way.
So if you want the audience to remember one thing of this podcast, would it be?
So hematology is a fascinating field. It's a great community. I grew up in this community. I benefit a lot in this community. EHA is a wonderful association, a wonderful organization to support hematologists at all stages of their career. It's a discipline that allows you to get connected, to collaborate with many other disciplines, and it's a rapidly evolving field, hematology. And I have the feeling that we achieved a lot over the last 20, 30 years with regard to the treatment of our patients. And this is our aim, to improve outcome of our patients. And I have a last message. Could only recommend join EHA, join the community. Everyone will find an area where she can contribute. It's a great community with lots of very important activities.
Thank you very much, Professor Döhner, for this fascinating interview. And thank you to the audience for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it, and please stay tuned for more episodes of EHA Unplugged.
Thank you very much, Isabel.